Now, if we go to the other end, what's the ROI on the building that your factory is in? It's not even zero. It's worse than zero. It's negative, because first of all, you got to pay for that whole thing up front before you ever use it. And then once you got it, you just keep paying forever because there's endless maintenance costs to keep it up.
Mm-hmm.
And it never puts, I mean, it can sit there for 20 years and it never puts a single dollar in the bank. This thing has a clear negative ROI. So the question is, if every factory building in existence has a negative ROI, why aren't all factories just built out in the open in the middle of a field?
Mm-hmm.
And the answer is because CFOs aren't idiots. That ROI is one of a wide range of ways of measuring the value of an investment. And in fact, ROI is a fairly narrow way of measuring a value of an investment, and it only works for certain asset classes, certain investment classes. And so the value of that building isn't that the building makes you money. The value of that building is that everything inside the building becomes both more efficient and more effective. So your machine tools will last longer. They won't have to be replaced as often. They won't have to be repaired as often as if they were, out being rained on every day. The workers are going to be more productive because, again, they're not out in the hot sun or out in the rain. The factory is going to have, is going to operate on longer cycles because you're not going to have to shut down every time the weather changes. So that building, the reason that building is a high value investment is not because of the ROI of the investment. It's because it makes other investments more valuable. And there's a direct analog in marketing.
Yeah.
What's the ROI on brand?
Right.
It's less than zero.
But the intent though is the same, I think, in that we're trying to show value as a group of the things that we're spending money on, right? And that's the brand argument I think you're going to come up with. But what if it's not ROI? Then what is? You mentioned ROI is only a decent measure for certain asset classes. So for brand, then is that a different kind of an asset class that you should be measuring differently than just a ROAS on?
Right. If you think of performance versus brand, these are two fundamentally different asset classes that have fundamentally different return mechanisms. And those return mechanisms operate in fundamentally different ways. And so, the problem is that marketers somewhere along the way accidentally heard the word ROI and just decided that they were going to wrap everything around this word they heard, without ever understanding the context of how this is really used by real people in real finance. That there are lots and lots of ways to measure value. And again, I mean, one of the things that got me into my early work in finance was valuation analysis for M&As, for mergers and acquisitions.
Mm-hmm.
You look at a company, and there are a lot of ways to value that company, ways that have nothing to do with things like EBITDA or growth or ROI or anything else.